said, drugs are expensive. So
Mm.
I would pay all my bills, but then not have enough money to buy drugs, or I would have bought too many drugs and then I wouldn't have the ability to pay my bills. So I remember the day I made the very fateful decision, terrible decision, to use my employer's account to pay one of my bills.
That's
And
your first major step over the line right there.
yeah. And I knew what I was doing was wrong. And I kept telling myself, like, you have to stop this. You have to stop this. But my addiction was so bad. I would say at one point I was doing about an 8 ball of cocaine like every couple days. It's a
Wow.
miracle I'm not dead, quite
Wow.
frankly.
Wow.
I went to the
Now,
dentist one time and they sent me to the ER because my blood pressure was so high, and they're like, you're gonna stroke out. And that was my like, oh shit. Like, and this is after it had been going on for probably about 5 years or so. So from like
5 years.
so from like
Can only
2013 to 2018, it was really bad.
Let me ask a couple of questions. When you started stealing from the place there, basically,
Mm-hmm.
was your boyfriend in the loop? Did he know you were doing this? And was he?
No, no, he had no idea. We got married during this time period, as
Whoa, whoa,
well.
whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. You're working at this place. You have this, now you have a major addiction. You're starting to steal from your employer. You get engaged. You have a wedding. Your mom and dad's there. Family's around. And nobody at this point knows that you have a major problem.
No, I mean, I felt like I was hiding it. You know how, I mean, addiction is, you feel like you're hiding it really well, but I definitely think some people closest to me suspected there was a
Well,
problem.
your boyfriend's like,
Yeah, he absolutely did. He would say things to me like, we can't go out without you having to do cocaine, or like it's always, can we call someone? And so then I just hid it, right? I just hid it from him.
I see. All
Yeah,
right.
we
Okay.
didn't share a bank account. Like, we had, everything was separate for all, even when we were married. We kept everything separate. That was
Okay.
one thing my dad was always like, make sure you have your own stuff.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. So, when we got married, we didn't combine our bank accounts or credit cards or anything like that.
Unfortunately for you, it was easy. That made it easier for you to hide your expense situation.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it did.
All right. So you're at this job. It's starting to get worse. You're starting to steal. Then what happens?
So, June 25th, 2018, I went into work that one day. So I should clarify, I moved out to Colorado in 2017, and I continued to work remotely for that organization, kind of traveling back like every few weeks or so for office
Still with
time.
your husband?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. And so June 25th, 2018, I was in DC. I had traveled back to, work in the office for a few days. And I knew I was ready for it to be over. So basically, the bank had alerted the president of the company that something was weird with the bank account. And I was honestly to the point where I was like, I want this to be over. Like, I know what I'm doing is this terrible thing. I'm hurting a lot of people. And so I went into work on that day, and the cops came. I wasn't arrested. They just escorted me out. And then I immediately flew back home to Colorado, hired an attorney to, help me. I was fortunate enough to be able to hire an attorney to do that. And
Let me
yeah,
pause for a minute. I want to visualize this whole thing. You drive into work that day. Were the cops already there?
no, so I had
Okay.
come into work. I got there around like 8 a.m. And then the president of the organization, maybe I think she came in around like 9 or so. And I heard her pick up the phone and call someone, and I just knew. I knew. And so I was sitting in the office like working, and the DC cops came in, and they're like,
They walked into your office.
mhm.
Did you break down? Did you immediately break down and start crying?
No, I did not. I think I was I was expecting it, and I was relieved, honestly, because I knew what I was doing was so messed up.
They didn't say you're under arrest?
No, because I think at the time, like, I mean, she had evidence, of course, of what I was doing, but they just wanted me out of there.
But did she say you're fired and I'm having these people escort you out of the building?
Yeah, basically, that
I
what
see.
was said.
I
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Oh.
left,
Did she say, I'm
and
firing you for theft?
I don't remember, honestly. I remember parts of that day. I don't remember what her exact, like what she
I'm
said
just
to me.
curious. I'm
Exact.
curious whether or not she said, Ashley, how could you do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. Any of that?
Yeah. No, none of that.
Okay. All right.
None of that. But
So
yeah,
then you get on the
so
plane. Let me guess, you do a line of cocaine at the
no,
airport parking lot
no,
before you get on
I
the
did
plane.
not. No, that I did not do. By then I had actually kind of like, I would say in the beginning of 2018, I really started to like be like, okay, you've got to stop this or you're gonna die. Like you're literally going
All
to
right.
die.
Okay. Besides dying, were you worried about going to prison?
Well, that too. And ironically, like during this time, I started watching Orange is the New Black. I don't know if you've seen that on Netflix. So I was like, it was
You're
like
like,
I was
this
like
is my life.
subconsciously preparing for what was going to happen to me. I don't know.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, I mean,
Man.
of course I knew I was gonna end up in prison. And I am not proud of what I've done. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I'm like, what the hell were you thinking?
Did you
Like,
call your husband or your parents from the airport or anything?
actually, the first person I called, actually it was my husband. I called him and because I was concerned that they were going to arrest me and take me to a DC jail. So I called him and I was like, if you get a phone call from a 202 or an unknown number, I really need you to answer it. And he was like, what do you mean? What's going on? So I told him. And then the second phone call was to my best friend, Kate, who lives in DC. And then the third phone call, I called my sister to tell
Okay.
her what was going on.
You
Yeah.
weren't
So
ready.
then,
You weren't ready to face mom and dad yet.
no, but ironically, my mom was with my sister when I called my sister.
Oh,
So I didn't tell my sister at the time. I just told her I'd call her back. And so I called her back. But then of course I told my mom, right after my dad had passed away by this point. So my dad has not been around for any of this.
okay. Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So you're on the plane, you're going back and you're thinking, okay, I've just fucked up everything at this point. You're probably having all kinds of, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what would you're thinking about going to jail. You're thinking about all kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I didn't, I've never been in trouble before. Like I said, I didn't grow up in a broken home, in an abusive home, where I was exposed to drugs, where, a teenage mom, all of these adverse childhood experiences that lead people to end up in prison.
Yeah.
That wasn't my life. I had an education, I had a family, I had people around me that loved me. It was this addiction that took hold of my life. And that's not an excuse. Like, it's absolutely not an excuse. I knew what I was doing was wrong. And then combined with, these mental health issues that I had, I didn't know how to ask for help because I was ashamed. Addressing these feelings of feeling like I was owed things because I worked hard. Like, that's not how the world works. So like this whole process has really opened my eyes to, these behaviors that I had that were not right, these thinking processes, these mental health issues and problems that I have. I've never felt good enough my entire life. And I think my dad saying that really subconsciously, saying that I was the reason for him having an affair really affected me. And I didn't realize it till I've become older. So, I've never felt good enough. I've always been like middle of the pack, right? Like I've always been like, people never remember my name or they don't remember what I look like. So I've never felt good enough. And, when I was doing the drugs, like I felt like I was fun and outgoing, right? To like combat those feelings of being inadequate.